On my end, I'm going to say good morning, everybody. And on your end, I know it's good afternoon. And I know some people are probably joining from other parts of the world. And you're welcome. And thank you very much for taking this time to come and listen to some of the stuff we are going to share with you. Okay, my name is Migot Ndede. I'm a software engineer here based in Dallas, Texas. And my role as a developer, they term me as a full stack developer. So I do both front end and back end. And pretty much I have like more than 10 years of experience. So, and that means I'm pretty much very conversant with this particular space here. And I really would like to be able to welcome everybody. And we also appreciate you for coming in. Just so you know, this particular session is also going to be streamed live on Facebook, and guys can also tweet. And the tweet handle is the # data LS King. So I believe data is king. And then the topic of today we are going to be able to talk about will basically be on how data science drives the 21st century small and medium business and also businesses in the enterprise. Okay, and we have with us like a group of panelists, and of course we have started with the ladies first, right? So I'm going to start. We have a group of 3 individuals who are panelists, and the first one will be Esther Mwigai. Okay, Esther Mwigai is a software engineer at Medbook. And then we also have Paul Bombo. Paul Bombo is a lead data engineer at MFS. Okay, so Paul will probably let us know what MFS stands for when he gets that chance. And then we also do have Felix Oduor. And Felix Oduor is a mobile applications engineer at Ngamia Haulers. So Ngamia, thank you again for being gracious to help us host this particular session, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and basically open it for Esther Mwigai to put in some words for us. Esther, when you're ready, please, go ahead.
Patient management, virtual patient care. So that's what Medbook does in a nutshell. And being in the healthcare sector, we come by a lot of data. And at first now we've been able to solve the issue of getting all our records online. Now, the second bit is making sure all of it, all the data that we are collecting is clean and consistent. So I can say that's the we are in, making sure that we are collecting data that is usable, that can infer, that can give us, that can help us make decisions. So currently, the data is assisting in this sense, but it is more of traditional. So once you have the data in the database, you download it as an Excel file, and then now you can, make decisions from it. Now you can see this is not a very efficient use of this data, but we are getting to a place where we can start talking about how to incorporate data science and AI. Now you see, data science and AI can sometimes incur a bit of cost and takes a bit of manpower beyond maybe what we had right now. However, this is something that we are really looking into, especially with the pandemic, which we were very hard hit. Trying to take care of patients at home, we had to come up with solutions for our clinics, for our nurses, for our doctors. And it's not been easy, but we've been able to manage the task. So for now, we are using, I can say, PHP, normal relational database, MySQL. Those are the technologies we are using. In terms of data science, we are yet to really embrace new tech, but it's on the way. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Esther. So you say at Medbook, Medbook, is that right? Medbook. So how old is the company? Has it been around for a long time, or like is it only in Kenya or in other
The
countries?
Medbook has been around for around 5 years,
Okay.
5 to 6 years. Yeah,
All right.
it's currently in Kenya and Tanzania. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So is it headquarters? The headquarters are in Nairobi?
Yes, in Nairobi,
Okay.
Kenya.
The most used tools by you guys are PHP and MySQL. That's it. You don't put anything else like JavaScript.
That's the team I'm in. We use Angular, JavaScript, .NET, React. Yeah, so it's
Okay.
vast. We have many products and many teams. So I went direct into my team. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So how long have you been there? Long?
About 1 year.
Very
Yeah.
nice. Thank you. Thank you very much, Esther. All right. That was very, very good, Esther, and very informative. And we really appreciate your elaboration on that. Now I'm gonna go back to Felix. Felix, I'm gonna give you some time now so you can tell us what exactly you do and how do you do it, what tools do you use, and how is it coming into the data science space as in your company. Go ahead, please.
Thanks, George. At Ngamia House platform. So at Ngamia, I'm the mobile applications engineer. So on a day-to-day basis, basically, hello? Yes, George?
We can't hear you properly. Maybe it's just me. Just can you move the microphone a little bit close to you?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So on a day, so at Ngamia, Ngamia House platform is a fintech company. We offer technological solutions in areas of transport, logistics, and supply chain. So that is our main focus, but we are diversifying into other areas that we offer technological solutions to such fields. So on a day-to-day basis, basically what I do is I do the mobile applications at Ngamia. So the languages I normally use, we use Kotlin and React Native for both cross-platform and the native Android, that is Kotlin. And then we have, for our portals, we use portals to mean websites. We use React.js for both, it's easier and for scalability as well. So databases, we use both NoSQL and SQL, so relational and NoSQL. NoSQL, an example will be MongoDB. We use MongoDB for fast queries because all our applications, information is real time. Somebody pushes a button on one end, you get that information on the other end. And then we use relational database to do comparisons and store our data and all that. And then I think that is about it. So how all this marries, and then another tool we use is RPA. So since we are mainly we are focused on transport and logistics and supply chain, there's a lot of data sets that we normally require in order for an individual to perform in the system. So all these data sets need to be put into a database, and reference needs to be made. So we do robotics process automation. So we automate several business processes so that now that data import into the system becomes easier. So now we can import data through RPA. The RPA tools we use are like UiPath, we use Blue Prism, and then we use Automation Anywhere. So these are some of the tools that have enabled us be able to do our data fetching, data reading very fast compared to how traditionally we used to do data. Now with that, now also we're using the same tools now to derive information from them. So yes, we have 50 guys from this area. What do they do and all that? Our RPAs are able to do that for us and give us that data. So we now export the data now from the system in terms of CSV, PDFs, Excel, and all that. So we're able to now come up with draw conclusions from that said data set. Migot, back to you.
All right, thank you very much, Felix. That was really very informative. So let me ask you, when you say RPA, what do you mean?
RPA is robotics process automation.
Okay.
So robotics process automation is used to automate a business process. So a business process in this term can be, let's say, in the accounting area, we have things like reconciliation, right? So in a bank, in a day, they do like, let's say 1 million transactions. If we give human beings that process to do, it will take them about 15 days or half a month to do it, right? But if we do RPA on such a process, on such a business process, then it takes seconds. It takes minutes to do that. So it's fast, it's efficient, room for errors are zero, almost negligible. And it can do that repetitive. So that is now what we call RPA, robotics process automation.
Okay.
Yes.
That's very good. So let me ask you, you use Kotlin, right?
Yes, we use Kotlin.
Okay. Now,
yes.
What do you guys use, like the database, and what? Okay, use MongoDB. Other than MongoDB, what other databases do you work with?
We use MariaDB as well.
MariaDB, okay.
And then there's a DB we are calling Cassandra. There was a lady called Cassandra somewhere. So we are using that as a DB as well on our end. So we have multiple instances that normally marry into the overall picture.
Okay. So how do you harmonize all this data together? Like you have a lot of data points, right?
Yes.
You have data coming from mobile app. You have data coming from let's say just a regular. You have to ingest some kind of API, right?
Yes. So we normally use, yes.
And then how do you harmonize all this together? And then how do you process that so that it can be meaningful and then being used by Ngamia?
Ngamia, okay, thanks. Now, so if you look at our architecture, we have so much data coming into our system from different ends, from the app, from the web portals that we have. Now, all that data is pushed into the different databases that we have. So all these databases now feed into a data center, a cloud data center that we have now. And then now from that data center, that data is fed into an engine we are calling Kafka. So Kafka processes that data. When it processes that data, we have already defined from this set of data, we need to know the number of people on our platform. We need to know the number of people accessing our platform. We need to know, as in we have defined what we want. From that pool, we narrow it down from exactly what we want. Now, when we feed all that data into Kafka now spits out the kind of data sets we need. We need this, we need this, we need this. When that one is spit out from Kafka, then that data is fed into a Power BI. So Power BI is a tool, it's a visualization tool that we use now to say, oh, we can see at real time These are the total number of, let's say, users on our platform. These are the total number of users who are maybe doing a certain activity on the platform. And then we have APIs that interact with that data to do that data in real time. So we see that data on real-time basis from a Power BI perspective as a visualization tool from our end. Then now analytics will flow in and all that. So we're able to interloop that data continuous on a real-time environment.
Okay, thank you very much. So other than the Kotlin and the database use, somebody's asking, you guys by any chance use Python in any of your processes?
Python in our processes, we use Python to do ML, to learn from the data that we get, to train our robots to give, we do ML we do Python to now do ML. Now ML now tells our robots how to now manipulate that data. It's like it makes up a model. A model is like, let's say, a model is like a recipe. So an instruction booklet. So we do Python to do ML, to feed ML, then ML now feeds our overall data analytics. So we tell, they come up with a set of models that now analyze this data this way, truncate this data this way, do this. So we come up with models in the Python language so that now it's able to feed the overall ML. So when I'll be tackling my points, we'll be able to do that. But basically, machine learning is the ability to make a machine learn from experience. So over time you've been collecting data, you've been analyzing data as humans. But now this is where now you tell the machine, this is the set of data we have. We need you now to make decisions from it. So ML, basically the overall goal here is to do artificial intelligence, as in building machines that can mimic human intelligence. So ML is a subset of artificial intelligence. So you make up models that do ML and then now feed the overall. So our machines tend to be able to make decisions on their own because they've been given past data and then now they infer from the models we give them. They're able now to update those models and also make decisions on them. So in that manner, we feed them in terms of supervised learning, and then we have unsupervised learning as methods of machine learning, and then we have reinforcement learning. So supervised learning is like the way I was saying, we have a table is labeled data. So we tell a machine, these are the heights, these are the weights, this is ABCD. And then now we tell the machine now, if this is the heights, these are the weights, then compute the, let's say, the who is obese, who is not, who is active, who is not active. So labeled data. And then unsupervised data is now, after the machine is able to is able to learn under supervision, then we give it data that is not labeled. Then now we tell it now to generate comparisons, to generate data structures, to group data based on similarities that it has been taught previously. So now it starts to mimic what it has been taught. Now it starts grouping data on its own. We don't tell you this is the height, or this is the weight, or this is the customer, or this is somebody else. So now it starts to learn on its own. And then our reinforcement is where now we have already done supervised learning, we've already done unsupervised learning, and then now reinforcement learning is where now a machine, we take it to the real environment. It interacts with a dynamic environment. So let's say we are doing an AI to do driving.
I'm sorry, real quick, Felix.
Yes.
I know in IT, we have a lot of acronyms, and so if you don't mind,
yes,
like AI or ML or whatever you say, you probably want to spell it out so that
okay.
You don't mind, please. Thank you.
So sorry about that. So just to go on top, we have AI. AI is artificial intelligence. So the question will be, what is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence is the ability to make a machine reason like a human being, right? It can be able to learn, it can be able to derive decisions, it can be able to solve problems. So that is the overall goal at the end of the day, to build a machine that is able to mimic human activities in terms of the brain, learn, relearn, update, come up with models and set of instructions and all that. And then now ML means machine learning. Machine learning now here is the ability to make a computer learn from experience, right? So we are like telling a computer, a laptop, this is the data, this is the input data, this is the output data. So this is how this set of data flows. So we have a chunk of data, but this is the final output we want. So that is basically what ML does, making a machine mimic human brain capabilities, being able to learn and analyze data. And then now when we do under machine learning, that's why I was saying supervised and reinforcement. So these are types of methods under machine learning that enable us to teach a machine like how our brain works. So if I can pick an example, if when a child is young, so when a child is young, is able to learn faster because his brain is still young. So we expose them to supervised learning. We tell them, we say, when somebody gives you a gift, you have to say thank you, right? So input is somebody has given you a gift, and output is you have to say thank you. So you teach the child how to behave, how to talk, and all that. So that is supervised learning. You take the child to school, all that. So they learn, and then they gather the base data. So they know, if somebody gives me a gift, I have to say thank you. If I step on somebody's toes, I have to say sorry. So things like that. So that is supervised learning. So, and then now we drop down to unsupervised. This is where now we don't, yes, we have given the child a set of instructions. So in this particular case, a machine. And then now unsupervised learning is where we don't tell the child what this is. It looks at it and say, this is a shoe. So this is a glass. So we don't label the data. We just throw everything there, and the machine is able to pick. So this is a fist, this is something else. So the machine is able to pick. So just like a child is able now to infer from the given set of the teachings they received.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Yes.
That was really detailed, and we really appreciate you taking that time to explain. And I know somebody in the chat box basically asked, do we have machine learning first, or do we have artificial intelligence first? Which one comes first? Maybe I'll go ahead and quickly just answer that, and then I can let the next panelist take over. Now, all machine learning, data science, artificial intelligence, deep learning, everything we talk about depends on data. Okay. Now, before we even talk of artificial intelligence, we have to be able to have the data, and then we train that data. So when the process of training the data is what we call machine learning. We call it machine learning because we use machines, we don't use human beings. So once we use machines to train the data, we call that machine learning. We make the machine to learn how to utilize that data, to process it, to give us the information we need. Now, once that's done, then we go to the next process whereby now we artificially utilize that processed data to make decisions to give us what we want. Now, when we use the artificial intelligence, that's going to be now man-made intelligence. Now, the only intelligence we know from day-to-day life is human intelligence. But in this case, we are going to use the artificial intelligence based on the machine we trained to be able to process the data to give us the information we're looking for. And that can be in so many ways. Could be in healthcare, could be in financial, could be in logistics, as we will be able to cover that. So thank you again, Felix. And I'm going to go ahead and move to maybe the next chat question here real quick. Somebody's asking, Daniel Lula is asking, in machine learning, how do you decide the best technique for feature engineering? I believe, I'm not really sure if feature, but it should be feature, maybe. Do we train the data or we train the model using the data? So probably, maybe Felix might have answered that already, but that's something we will probably, again, go into detail. And I'm gonna go ahead and move over to Paul Bombo. And Paul, please go ahead. If you can answer that part of the question, that would be great too. Thank you. Go ahead, please.
All right, thank you. So the discourse is very engaging. And I think a lot of things that come out very clearly is what's the end user supposed to do with this data? And then how do we enable our businesses to be more efficient, to be more. And maybe I can draw on what we do at work. We've sort of inflected it and looked at and gone back to, we've put the technology aside. What are we trying to achieve? What are the business objectives? How then does technology sort of answer or speak to this business challenge? So I think one of our ethos at work is to have data-driven decisions. Yeah, so our decision making must be data-driven, must really encompass thought, reason, and logic, as opposed to conjecture or feeling and so on. And like everybody said, I think we start with the data and so on and so on. But I think specifically to what the panel or the conversation is about, our focus really is on, can we make data accessible? Can we make it understandable quickly? And can we make it usable? Yeah, so visually representing it is really the first step. And so we use machine learning and artificial intelligence to sort of make data, to discern meaning and to visually represent this meaning for deeper insights and for deeper understanding of the data that is generated by the business. So how do we decide what the best techniques are for, I like that question, for feature engineering. So we do credit scoring at work. How do we decide what the best features are? It really is what indicators make sense for the business outcome. And really that's how we work on that. And then we go improving over time. So we reinforce our machine learning by collecting additional data that is outside of the track of what the machine is, the training set that the machine is working. So we keep improving the data available to the models. And we also test our models by collecting, again, the human being is not being replaced. We ask the human beings or the people that are collecting data to collect richer information. So we provide them tools that sort of pick up data automatically. So whether it's GPS, whether it is really timestamps and things like that, that we can now overlay on existing data that we collect. And then to sort of reinforce, say, we provided credit to this person. They sort of defaulted. Can we go back on the data that we collected about this person? Or what are the indicators that we could have really looked at before to determine that this person would default?
Okay, very good. Thank you, Paul. And I'm gonna go back and to the chat. I see somebody's asking about data and data security. Now, I know in the space of healthcare, space of financial data, and even in logistics, that's a big deal. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw that question back to all of you, Paul, Esther, and Felix, but I'll start with Esther. Now, if you don't mind, can you go ahead and address how you guys handle the security aspect of data you deal with, from the user level to the machine level to the patient level, and I mean basically how do you guys go about securing that and making sure that it doesn't fall on the wrong hands? Go ahead, Esther, please. Esther, can you hear me? Can you unmute? Can you unmute, Esther?
Okay. I think the admin was trying to control. I found
Okay.
myself
Sorry
muted. Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
in terms of security, we have our own ways to manage the health data. So from the patient side, we have fingerprint verification. So a lot of biometric. So there's fingerprint. In terms of, we use mobile as well, OTP. And then we use a combination of primary data.
Okay.
So by this,
real quick, when you say OTP, what do you mean? Just
yeah.
demystify that. Just break it down so that somebody knows exactly what you mean by OTP.
So OTP is a verification method where they use a code, they send either to your phone or your email from the application, and it can verify that you're the user. It can identify the relation between your phone number or your email and a particular user or particular data. So that's what I mean when I say OTP. So very many applications nowadays use OTP to verify. If you've used SafeBorder, Uber, Facebook, I'm sure they give you the option to receive an OTP, which you use to verify either manually or automatically. Yeah. So that's what I can say about OTP. So when the patients come to the clinic, we find this very useful because it applies everywhere. So OTP you can access your OTP from any kind of phone, and we have a variety of users. So even the users in mashinani or in the villages can be able to be verified, and we can ensure that this data belongs to this patient through their phone number. So another method that we use, especially dealing with matters insurance and health, it's a sector where sometimes there can be a lot of fraud. So you have to engage another gear, which is fingerprint recognition. Okay. So you come, you put your fingerprint, and our systems can draw all your data, your insurance data, your health records, and the doctor can access this. I come again to the issue of the pandemic. Now you remember for some time, we were told we cannot use our fingerprints. So we had to engage another level, which was facial recognition. So, but because of some issues here and there, we are back to the fingerprint recognition, but we are hoping to engage now a combination of a fingerprint and the facial recognition. Now, apart from this, we also use combinations of data. So the ones I'm mentioning now, it's just to protect the health records, that Felix cannot come and pose for Paul. So that's the security level that I am talking about. When it comes to our software, our database, then we use secondary security. So there is Amazon, there is Angani. So those are the two currently that we are engaging. It is not in-house. So we have, I can say we have outsourced security for our systems. Yeah, so that's what I can say for that.
All right, thank you very much, Esther. Okay, yeah. And just probably just to break it down, OTP, we probably for so many people, stands for one-time password. Like when you want to get access to something, they basically send you a password. Could be to your phone, maybe text message, or could be to your email. And it expires after some time. So you use that password to access the system, and then immediately it will tell you to go ahead and change it to something you feel comfortable and secure with. So thank you very much, Esther, for that. And we have another question, and this question is addressing data cleaning, which in data science we call data munging. How this question will go to Felix. How do you guys make sure that the data you ingest is clean, so that the information you get out of it is going to be accurate and usable? Go ahead, please.
Thanks. Thank you, Migot. So basically what happens, so there was that question on data cleaning, data authenticity. How do you know that this set of data is real? So on basically on our system, what we do is when let's say a user comes in, he has to give us their basic information, your name, your name is there, your date of birth, okay, your name, ID number maybe, if it's a requirement. So we have government agencies that do this kind. They like the government here in Kenya stores data for its citizens, right? So if you get a national identification number, then the government has authentic documents or data relating to you with that specific number. So we call it KYC. KYC stands for Know Your Customer. So what we do, if you punch in your ID number, then we send it to the government systems or servers. So when we send it there, it pulls back your data. So when it pulls back your data, we're able to say, we don't even ask you for your name or anything. So if it's a secure system, then you put in your ID number and we tell you, is this your data? Then you confirm, and then now you send it into our system. In that manner, we are able to verify that a user is not typing in their name. It's not saying my name is, there are funny names on Facebook, we can go and guess. So the user comes in, punches in their let's say national security number. So they punch in, we pull data from a government database. So we are able to know that through APIs, we're able to know that you've put this number. So and this is happening in real time. It's a span of a second. You punch in your number, you click fetch, we fetch data, we show you, and then you submit it to our system. In that manner, when that data hits our system and our servers, we're able to know now this is authentic data. It's not data that is subject to typos and all that. So it's real data from real government bodies. So even when like here in Kenya, for example, we have a mobile money platform. So you can send money to somebody who has a mobile number and receive money, right? So in order for you to be able to transact on a mobile platform, money platform, then you have to key in your number. So it's like they give you a virtual account. So one of the requirements for you to use our system is basically your phone number. So when we get your phone number, we send that phone number through an API to the service provider. Then the service provider, since they already have your correct details, which is verified from the government portals from their end, they send us verified data. So there are so many ways in which we can verify data, and those are the ways that we can verify data here in Kenya. So you can integrate with the additional bodies that verify user data to get authentic data. So to avoid data being skewed or being subject to human alteration. And then there was a question on feature. So in machine learning, what happens is given a particular data set, you train models. So models, we've already discussed that models is a set of instructions, right? So you train models. When you train a model for the first time, you give it its first instructions. So and then you have to leave that model open to receive future updated instructions. So you can't close that model completely, because the way data the way data comes into the system keeps on changing. So let's say you go on Facebook and you say, I like to see this ad. This ads, let's say maybe it's a bicycle ad. So after some time, you'll come back and say, apart from bicycles, I like seeing foodstuff ads, right? So we need to leave that model open. So George said that you as an individual, you are a model to a computer somewhere. So you are data on your own. So when you like a certain ad, we have to leave that model open in our system so that it receives updates. So at any given time, when an interaction happens or there is a change in the data set that belongs to you as a user on our system, then that model updates. So it keeps on changing. It's dynamic, so you don't close it. If you close it, then after a while, then we won't know who is Paul. Because after a while, Paul changes and starts, maybe Paul walked on a street and saw an ad and say, now I like this, you know, see. So that model has changed. So people change, and with that change, now we need to train the models afresh to receive new instructions. And then there was security. So at Ngamia, we use several security layers. We had discussions around, do we, as much as it's good to already buy the security features, outsource the security features that are already in place, it's also good to have your own in-house security features that are not known outside there. That protects your data even more strongly. So for that, we have, on our server level, we have Iep monitoring. Not all IPs, we whitelist IPs for them to be, for them to access our servers. We have firewalls in place that protect also that. So we monitor IPs that access our servers. We monitor, the firewalls are in place to filter all that. We also check the ports. So we allow specific ports to be accessed, and others are closed permanently. So we only open them when there is need basis, and we open them for a given period of time. And then we have password policies. So there's the stronger, don't use your name, your birthday. So password policy come in place, capital letters, small letters, and all that. And then we have our system is role-based access. So if you're a customer, you can't see something that maybe another set of people are seeing. So you only see data related to you. And then how our applications and our portals communicate to our databases is not direct. So we have APIs in place in between here. So it's not a direct read and write. So it has to go through an API. They have tokens. So if your token has expired, then the system automatically kicks you out. So if it kicks you out, you have to come in again and renew your token. So the token is on a refresh basis. So if it expires, the system knocks you out with that. And then we have we also have SSL. So for security, SSL, our sites are SSL. Even our applications can only read from sites that are SSL. So if it's not SSL, then security is compromised. And with the data and the big data and all that, then security becomes key.
So real quick, when you say SSL, you probably want to spell it out. So that people who don't know what SSL is.
SSL, secure socket layer. So when data comes in, it has to come from an authorized site.
Correct.
So
I'm not really sure if you're allowed to mention some of the APIs you guys use for like KYC. Is this a public API or?
Yes, some of them are public. So we have what we call IPRS. IPRS is a registry of persons. So if you have an ID number, you basically, IPRS is a government body. So they give you data based on your ID number. And then we have For example, here in Kenya, we have the body that regulates vehicles, so we call it NTSA, so National Transport and Safety Authority. So in that port, in their databases, if for example you give me a vehicle number plate KCA123X, I don't need anything from you. If I have that number, I send it to the national body. It returns to me the authentic owner of that vehicle, right? So I'm able to verify that that Paul owns this car. So we're able to verify that data, right? So that if we say the service providers are on our platform, then these are service providers that have actually checked up. So we have a stepwise approval. You don't just register and come in. You go through the filtering process. We check your car, we check your details and all that. Yes.
Real quick, you know, we keep on talking of API. You probably also want to pronounce that, like define it.
API is application interfaces. You see, programming application interfaces. So API, programming application interfaces. So these are tools that enable you to read and write to the database. So it's not one, it's a set. So if you want maybe to register a user, traditionally you will just write that data direct into a DB, right? But now that will mean your DB can be accessed by your database. So DB database can be accessed by anyone at any given time. So in order to secure that, now APIs come in place. So it's a bridge between the app and our server, and our databases. So when you do that, the API has to authenticate that it's actually you. So we pass the tokens, the authorization tokens assigned to each user are normally passed in the header, right? So if the header fails, then the body does not go into our database. So the header has to pass first. So if it's Paul accessing our app, using our app to maybe update his name, so he has to pass that data through an API, which has and Paul has an assigned token. So a token is a random generated number that is assigned to Paul. That's why somebody else using the same application cannot do what Paul has done. So that access level. So that is what API does. It's a bridge between the actual user and our databases.
Okay. Thank you. So have you encountered cases whereby a trusted API, say for example, public API, you grab it and then you find that some of the data are missing, or some of the data it has, or the endpoints are actually inaccurate? And if so, what do you do in such a case?
We haven't yet encountered such a scenario, because the public APIs that we use in our system, we call it consuming. So we consume, as in we use that public API. So using an API is consuming. So the APIs that we've consumed so far are ISO verified. So if we consume an API from a bank will give us the minimum data we need to function, right? So they will give us full data in order for that to function. So the critical, if you look at what we fetch from external APIs, public APIs, that means it's data from verified bodies, not data from just any company outside there. So these are verified bodies that have full, complete set of data that is needed to operate. So that is why before you consume a public API on your application or on your system, make sure that that public API, the data that is being fetched from that API, is data that is standard and verified.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, one real quick question to Paul. Paul, there's a question from Keroka, SY Keroka, regarding credit scoring, its accuracy and reliability. Can you address that?
Yeah, so I think it's important to remember that credit scoring really is just scoring and determining a limit for a customer. It's really just about determining how worthy are they what's their worthiness if I give them money? To what extent, or to what, how much money can I give them before they are a risk to me? I'm just determining their risk. So accuracy and reliability, again, will go back to, as a business, what do we deem as too risky for us? Yeah, so I'll give you an example. If I was to lend someone money, I think the most I would give out is 10,000. Yeah, why? I feel like even if I lost that money, I'd still be okay. Yeah, Felix on the other hand might be able to give out 100,000. So your scoring will be unique to the business. So I think what a lot of the times what I've seen is people try and sort of superimpose credit scoring algorithms or solutions that have been developed into your business. But for instance, if I was to take the same approach Felix is taking, my risk appetite is lower. So the scoring that I would develop would have to reflect my risk appetite. So to answer the question, how do you ensure reliability? How do you ensure accuracy? A lot of it comes down to, as a business, what's our risk appetite? What do we determine as indicators of accuracy? And then not just accuracy, how do you determine that in event of default, we can go back and say, this is the things that, the markers that we should have been looking out for. And again, it speaks to some other question I saw on the chat. How do you remove bias? That's the only way to remove bias. You can't, it's not a single effort. You go back and you say, okay, the score was generated. You try and remove human intervention from the score or from the result of your model by feeding it more data that has been, that sort of is meta to the data that you've been working on.
Okay. So quick question. We know
Yes.
Kenya is not like, not everybody in Kenya has a bank account, right? But how would you determine somebody's credit worthiness if they don't have any record in your system?
Yeah, so that's a very interesting question. Again, without revealing too much of our secret elixir, where I work, part of what determines someone's credit worth. You
don't have to give out
yes,
any secret of the business, just like
yes.
layman's
so traditionally, what people would look at is, like you're saying, how much savings you have, what sort of transactions you're performing, and so on. We can use other metrics to determine someone's credit worthiness. Some of the very popular ones that a lot of the digital lenders use are transactions. So the pervasiveness of M-Pesa has helped us in the sense that you're able to see inflows and outflows. So they sort of represent what would traditionally be used by a bank or a financial institution of that size. So your transactions now, your activity on M-Pesa, your references, can we cross-reference your references? Can we, where you live as a geographic factor, how many children you have, and so on, are indicators of whether or not you would be willing and able to pay back, which is really what credit worthiness is.
Okay. So I've read online that some of the fintechs, like in Kenya, they extract like mobile user information as far as how long the battery lasts and stuff like that. Do you guys use that for determining somebody's credit worthiness?
No, we don't. One, because what's happening actually, new developments in Android, and I know iOS does not allow, but Android have been locking your ability to sort of read SMSs, which has been the primary source of data. So if you build on that basis, then you'll find yourself outmoded very, very quickly. So we sort of take a mixed approach where we sort of overlay information that's available publicly about you. So be it like Felix has mentioned, IPRS, which is the Persons Registry, whether it's the Safety Authority, the Transport Safety Authority information, and so on. And then now sort of pass it through a model to say, this is what we think, again, based on history. So we collect a lot of proprietary data that we now use to sort of augment the publicly available data.
Okay. Okay. So Paul, MFS, how long has this fintech been around in Kenya?
So it's been around since 2012.
Okay.
I know not many people sort of know about it, but we power some of the biggest banks in the region, biggest telcos in the region.
Okay. So
we do a lot of silent work, I'd say.
Are you guys spread out in other countries? Or
yes, we are across the East African region. So Rwanda, Tanzania, and Kenya.
Okay, that's good. That's good. How about you, Felix? You didn't tell us about Ngamia. How long has Ngamia been around? Are you guys in other countries? And how's business?
Business is good. Business is good. You know, from the point where I sit, I don't interact with people. I interact with data. So I look at, like, for example, if George, you download our app today, I see your touch points. So that is, as in that is what I say, I see your touch points. So I can see maybe you liked something, you read something, I can only see that. And then I can now model my data to now try and understand what you actually want. So business is good. So we are currently headquartered in Kenya. We have we are expanding into Uganda. We have plans in place, expanding into Uganda. We'll be going into Tanzania as well, and then I think we'll also be going to Rwanda. So we are trying to diversify. We are a fintech solution, so we geographically we cannot be tied to one place. We can be headquartered at one place, but since it's internet-based, then our geographical place is planet Earth.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
So did you say how long you've been around?
I've been around at Ngamia now for 1 year, but okay. Ngamia has been around for 2 years.
Okay.
Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. So we're gonna go back to the questions again, and let me see if we have some. Okay. Okay, I think my chat cleared, so because I had a reset there. So let me see if maybe Esther. Esther, do you have anything to add on to what Paul and Felix said as far as your company goes? Like, what are the prospects in terms of the like in terms of the competition out there? And you guys are in Tanzania and Kenya. Are there any opportunities you guys see out there in other countries? And what are the difficulties you get in terms of collecting data to be able to use? Esther. Can you unmute Esther? Did you hear my question?
Okay. Yes, I did.
Okay.
So currently, I can say in the healthcare sector, we are in a competition to get online and to be able to work remotely. We want our doctors to be able to see patients virtually. So I can say that's the main goal right now. How can we get doctors to see patients virtually and be able to determine the risk factor? Does this patient really need to come to hospital? Can they stay at home? So this is because of issues of safety. You find most patients right now, especially those with underlying conditions, might not want to visit a hospital physically, especially if a hospital is handling COVID-19 patients and also normal patients, so they might want to stay away. So you might have someone who has a chronic illness. All they want is a checkup and to collect medicine. So you see, that's not reason enough to make them visit a physical facility. So currently we have a home care based program, especially for our chronic patients. So they can have their samples collected at home. It's checked, it's investigated, they get their results online, the doctor sees them from home. So I can say that has become a favorite for our patients, especially our chronic patients. Currently, we're in the process of building a practice for small practices. And I find this will be so good, especially in consolidating your health records, such that you can track what medications are you often using? Can we able to detect a diagnosis from the data that you have been living with the doctor? What can we infer from this? What can we say about your allergies, your vital signs? And how can that help us be able to detect something in the future, to foresee something in terms of your health? Because I believe the human body is one of the biggest data sources. And yeah, actually believe the human body is one of the biggest data sources. And in the healthcare sector, this is going to be a very, it's going to create robust opportunities. Because I tend to think, for instance, currently, we've not really thought about how to collect data from home. So especially vital signs. Want the patients to be able to collect their temperature, their BP, their heart rate, their pulse by themselves. And then now it will make the process more efficient. Instead of, you see, now the problem is we've not come to a place where we can create equipment that is affordable, that can make this process faster and efficient. So I think that's one of the opportunities that can be created from that. How can we empower a patient to be able to track their own vital signs and update the doctor? In terms of competition, I can say the competition is really stiff. However, I feel in the healthcare sector, we are collecting a lot of data. We have a lot of data, but we are not really relating it and using it quite efficiently. And that's a gap that MedBook wants to fill. Yeah, okay. That's what I can say.
All right, so that's really good. So here, I'm based in the US, right? So here in the US, there's something called Hipaa. I'm not really sure if you've heard of it, but
pardon?
It's Hipaa means Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. Okay, it was passed by Congress here in the US in 1996. Okay, so is there anything equivalent of that in securing patients' data and making sure that it doesn't fall in the bad hands? Is there anything in Kenya in that space of health? Like you guys do a lot of data sets, right? Like the big data. How would I be sure that my data is secure if I let's say I take my vital signs and then I send it to, let's say, healthcare ABC? How would your company, MedBook, be able to assure me that that data cannot fall in bad hands and be used against me?
Okay. So I think in Kenya, all farms, especially the healthcare sector applications, are thoroughly audited. So in terms of checking the security of our applications. So I think that really ensures, so we have our own internal measures, but then again, we have to be, as Felix said, ISO certified. So we have to be audited to check is this data secure? So the application would not be running if we were not certified and ensuring that our system is secure. So I think that's that. But in terms of like a bill or anything, I don't think so. It is the prerogative of the company. So there are those checks and balances in terms of how the government audits the private firms. Yeah.
Okay. So somebody's asking about the possibility, or about, is there any way your application at Medbook attached or interfacing with the major health solutions like DHIS? I believe DHIS too.
I think I'm not, I think, is that data, what is DHIS? I'm not familiar.
I'm not really sure what they meant by DHIS. Brian, can you elaborate on that? What do you mean by the acronym DHIS too? I think some major health solutions provider. I'm not really sure what that means, but I mean, if he does, okay, it's district health information software.
No,
we have to be very sure of. Sometimes when you ask question, you just spell it out so that we get to it. So district health information software, is that the main software for all the healthcare services?
No.
Or is it just specific to a particular district?
I've not come across it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's no problem. All right, so we know there's some element of security, but on overall, the Kenyan government does not have a way of actually assuring you as a customer, or me as a customer, that my vital signs, what I'm suffering from and everything like that is actually secured. Or if it falls in bad hands, then what is there for me to assure me that that's going to be taken care of? Is that correct? So we are assuming that there's something similar to what we have over here in the US. For example, I go to the hospital, and then the doctor will pull up my record, and God forbid, when I leave, my file is dumped in the trash can, and then the cleaners come and basically take that and they use it, like my social security, my name, my address, and then they basically sell it to somebody. If that is done here in the US, that will be a big deal. Now,
Yeah.
if the same happens in Kenya, it's probably just going to be in the newspaper, right? But to what extent can the government secure that and make sure that does not happen again?
I think that we can't say completely that there are no measures in place. For instance, especially I've seen, especially when it comes to insurance patients, because for insurance patients, we already have your information, your data from your service provider. Yeah. So I think especially when it comes to matters of fraud, they are very grave. If someone steals your identity and you can sue us for it, then I think you are out to win a lot of money. But that's why we've put checks in place to ensure that there is no fraud. That's why we have biometric in place, facial recognition, finger recognition. So I think those are the measures that have been put in place. I don't really think that someone can steal your identity and they just go scot-free. However, I also feel, and this is for most countries, not even just Kenya at all, the fact that we can't track your records from, as Felix was saying, from your ID. If we could track it from your ID onwards, so that anyone who opens your records area, I think there was a country I was seeing, if anyone opens your records from anywhere, you can know my record was opened here, viewed by this person. So I think that's a conversation we should definitely have, especially when it comes to health records, since they're so sensitive. Yeah.
Okay. That's beautiful. Thank you. Okay, so looks like we still have some time. We have about 11 minutes to go. So okay, to be exact, about 12 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back to Paul again. Paul, I'll give you a few minutes there so that you can basically summarize to us what I mean, like as in fintech in Kenya, where you see this going, like your projection based on the data sets you see, where do you see this in the next 5 to 10 years?
Thank you. So just before I venture into that, maybe just around the data security concern, we do have a Data Protection Act of 2019 that I think sort of speaks to some of the concerns you mentioned. It's not specific to portability of health records and security of health records, but it does provide a framework to address concerns around data privacy and so on. So I think that would be the applicable law. And then about wearables and being able to track sort of diagnostic information about a patient. There's a really interesting study that a friend of mine is doing, who's doing her PhD around affective computing. And being able to, I agree with Esther, being able to lower the cost of such devices that can pick up sensory information and so on, and then being able to process that into actual data would be fantastic. So I just thought I'd mention that. Regarding fintech in Kenya, I think what we're seeing is a lot of consolidation. As you can see, I think Safaricom is trying everything and anything. And so I think them being sort of market leaders, they're sort of paving the path. Though that's not to say that smaller players are not active. What I'm seeing all the time is you find a lot of innovation around providing. So the first wave, in my opinion, has been providing access to capital. I think the next step, or access to credit, I think the next step, what we'll be seeing over the next few years, is access to other financial instruments. So savings and other investment opportunities. Again, a lot of it will come back to, are we able to share data in a way that one is secure and that maintains privacy of the individuals in question. So there's not a lot of inter-op. So for instance, I can't use my cooperative bank credentials to access, so credentials here being not just my identity, but my transaction history to access credit at Carrefour, for instance. So I think we'll see a lot of data sharing that will allow that sort of thing to happen, where transaction information will be shared so that you'll have fintech players that are able to come in and build on top of existing data flows and so on to produce really interesting solutions that really speak to a very personal need that Paul has, as opposed to Felix or to Esther or to someone else. Yeah, so I see a lot of data being collected in the right way, and in the right way meaning structured, meaning validated at source, and then people now beginning to not just collect data for data's sake, but beginning to ask fundamental questions about the data they collect and the strategies they use to collect it. That we see happening all the time. Maybe I can speak some more. I don't know. I think generally we are doing pretty well in the region. I think we are, again, of course, Kenya is known broadly for M-Pesa, but I think there's a little bit more than that. There's really a lot of strong developments in insurance, which is really assisted financial to other financial services. So we have a lot of insurtechs that are coming up that are trying to sort of innovate on the customer journey. But I think what we'll see more of is people really taking a step back and asking, is the data we collect sufficient for us to innovate at the level that we require to innovate? Yeah, so I think we'll see a lot more of that and a lot more of sharing, I'd say.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Now, same question to you, Felix. Where do you see Ngamia in the next 5-10 years? How is this data going to be very beneficial to Ngamia's well-being?
Thank you, George. So, Paul, I think in the future we're going to be seeing more of Ngamia. More of Ngamia, I think. I know. So, with respect to the data that we collect, our data is verified at the source. Before it hits us, it's data that is verified. So, people can adopt what we already, as in, we can integrate. You see, integration means one piece of system communicating with another. So if we embrace that, yes, data is key. Data brings about aspects of security. And if we share the same security concerns, we share the same security, as in we protect our individual data at source, then it will be able for health, transport, logistics, IPRS, all this data can be intertwined, as in one system can talk to another. Yes, we can do robotics. The cost is not, there was a question about the cost. The cost is not as much, because if you do RPA on your system, you're not breaking down your system. You're not closing a system. You're just putting an additional module that lets data from health be accessed to data from another end. So robotics can do that. So we can integrate and share data. Another thing is security. Security, like at Ngamia, security is key. We ensure that like when you download the application and register and become a user, the only person who can read your data is that app on your phone, on your device. If you for one reason or another you change your device, you have to renew the new device with us. As in your data, even me, if Paul registers right now, I will not see Paul as Paul Bombo on my dashboards as an admin on my end. I won't see Paul. I'll see XYZ # I'll see that. But the only thing that can know that is Paul, then that is the app on your device. If you change that device, then that device comes with a different set of configurations, production, manufacturer, IME. It comes with a different set of rules. So when you change it, then our system doesn't know that new phone. So you have to renew, as in kind of refresh that phone with us, so that we reset you back to default, so that now you access it. So security is key. Is very key when it comes to, if you have users' data on a platform, then that is how we protect. If now other bodies come in and do the same, then data becomes really secured, in terms of the only people who can access your data is only you. If you log into a device, we send you OTP, you verify, then you see your data. So even if it's at the hospital level, if it's data being shared there, then we have authorized people. It's on a role-based. You don't say a staff from, let's say, procurement can read patients' data. That one cannot happen. So it's role-based. It's, you only see what you can, what you've been authorized to see. And then we also, as I finalize yes, I'm winding up. So the last bit is yes. Ngamia will be here for a while. I think we are setting pace for how we treat technology from our end. So that is it. So we need to have people accepting new technologies and regulations being put in place also to support upcoming technologies that are better than what we have right now.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, now we have about 4 minutes, so I'm gonna go ahead and go around real quick. Each guy, from Esther, Paul, and then you, Felix. Just take 1 minute, please. Just summarize. And then just your closing remarks. Real quick, Esther, go ahead. 1 minute, please. Did you hear me? Can you hear me, Esther? Can you unmute? Just give us one minute closing remark, please.
Whoa, so much pressure. So I think my close, what I could say, maybe just adding to what Paul said, we are coming into a space, and I'll combine what Paul and Felix said. First of all, I've been reminded the country I was speaking about is Austria. And what Austria has achieved is that from the moment that I think you turn 18, or is it from the moment that you're born? Once you're registered with the government, this becomes your, what can I say? This is like your ID. It's public knowledge. I can share it with you, Felix. I can share it with you, Paul. But this becomes like my ID for everything. Now, I don't have to create duplicate data. So every time I go to NHIF, I register again, I put my names in again, I put everything in again. When I want an ID, I have to start from scratch. NSSF, NTSA, I have to start from scratch. So now we are being very messed up in terms of, I can say the government can be a great source of data, especially for most of our sectors, especially fintech and healthcare. But there's a way we need all this data to be linear, to be very linear, very clean. And I think this will go a long way into impacting how efficient we are. Even when it comes to data sharing, we don't have to have a lot of collisions in terms of our data. I'm Esther Mudhoni in one place, I am Esther Muigai in another application, another one, I am Esther Mudhoni Muigai. So just being able to have this linear data and having this security so we can openly share. At the same time, we know that there are no duplicates in our data. I think that I'm seeing that can be a very great source for us. So I think that would be my final remark.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. You guys, 1 minute, please. When I say 1 minute, 1 minute, you already passed the time. And please, Paul, go ahead, 1 minute, please. Just summarize real quick.
So thank you once again. It's been a great session. So I think in summary, where I see things going, definitely, like Esther is saying, it's about identity. I think our first attempt at unified identity, I don't want to mention Huduma number, but I think it is an attempt, and that's where we're going to go. When we have, I don't think it's going to be government alone that will provide identity. I think Ngamia could provide identity for me to consume as a financial services company. So I think, yes, it will be identity first. We'll be more or less going back to the building blocks of what makes data useful.
Yeah, thank you very much, Paul. That was really precise. Go ahead, please, Felix. 1 minute, please. 1 minute. Just summarize. Put your closing remarks.
Thank you. Thank you once again. I appreciate. It has been a pleasure being here. So my points, my closing remarks will be: technology is good, as much as yes, we are doing machine learning, we are doing deep learning, we are doing artificial intelligence. All these technologies are good. We are not trying to replace the human aspect. That human aspect, a machine can never be as perfect as a human. We cannot come close even to clearing the neurons in your own head. So we can't even mimic that. So the industry people in technology, we need to keep innovating, keep coming up with new ways. As I always tell friends of mine that curiosity, somebody must have had it wrong somewhere. Curiosity never killed the cat. Curiosity as in makes you question everything, question even what has been published. And with that, we'll be able now to go from where we are right now to a place we've never even thought we could be. Integration, technology will grow. And with that, then it becomes easier for all of us to sit on one platform and be able to say, now look how far we've come. So that would be a very good idea. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Migot.
Thank you. Guys, it's been a great time. I really would have liked to maybe go like for several hours, but to every good thing, there has to be an end. And I would like to, again, thank you guys, the panels, Esther, Migai, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Paul Bombo, and also Felix Oduor. You guys did very well. And I would also like to thank those people who came and attended the session. This would not have been possible without you. You took your time. We learned something. Whatever we probably did not answer, please feel free to just send them information to, I believe there's a way we can probably get that, right? Maybe in the chat, and then give us your contact so that we can be able to answer those questions. And then we see how possible we can be able to learn together. This was great, and I don't believe we can do better than this, but this is the best I've ever seen as far as covering data science and in the 21st century. So what we're looking forward is probably Ngamia, Mebruk, and also MFS, maybe one day integrate, and then you guys come back and tell us what's going on. Thank you so much, and this now is the end of our session. And I wish you all a good night. And of course, I'm starting my day over here. Thank you, guys.